Hi, I'm Lyssa Adkins, and you've got me for 5 minutes with Lyssa. I recently worked with a group of leaders, and we were working with the notion of relationship systems intelligence or human systems intelligence. And the idea that as a leader, you can be really effective by helping your teams become more aware of the patterns of their interaction. And if they can shift those patterns to a more healthy state, then lots of things change for the better. Now, most of us as leaders run around worrying about the emergency of the day, and that's usually having to do something with goals that we are maybe not on track for, or conflicts that seem to be between a couple team members or between this department and that department. It's about the issue, the problem, the thing of the day that we think we need to resolve or get other people to resolve. And that's totally reasonable. There is another way to work with these events of the day, though, that will both resolve those issues and create greater capacity in everyone else for resolving them in the future. So that as a leader, you get freed up to do more inspiring things that help the organization in a more long-term way. So one of the notions that we worked with in the work with this group of leaders was the idea of observing and perceiving the human system of, let's say, their teams. And so the question I got, great question. As a leader, what tools do I have to observe and perceive the social field? So what I'm about to say is right out of a book called Systems Inspired Leadership by Marita Fridjhon and Frank de Weerd. Now, they have several chapters about the doing and being of systems-inspired leadership. And one of them is called doing, seeing, hearing, and sensing the system. So there are 6 ways to do this, and each way has several tools or processes you can use in order to become good at seeing, hearing, and sensing the system in that particular way. But here are the 6, and then I'm going to talk about just one of them. The first one is to shift your focus from the individual parts to the systemic whole. The second is to engage with the relationship system as a living organism. That's hard to say. So try it again. Engage with the relationship system as a living organism with its own identity and wisdom. The third is to see the system. To do this, you look for systemic constellations and metaphors. The fourth is to hear the system. Hold every voice as a voice of the system, and especially those voices that you don't like to hear as much as you might need to hear them. The fifth one is to sense the system, to track and work with the energetic shifts, also called the emotional field of a human system. And the following one, the last one, is to educate others about relationship systems intelligence and systems inspired leadership so that this just becomes normal for everyone. So those are the 6 ways of sensing the system that they talk about. And then in the book, there are specific practices to do to get good at each of the 6. I'm just going to tap into the first one here, which is to shift your focus from the individual parts to the systemic whole. So one thing you can do here as a leader is to notice when you get hooked by certain events or certain people or certain sort of conflicts that happen. And instead of drilling down into the details of that, start to see if you can look a little bit wider. What I do to do that is I often will write down on a piece of paper, like the individuals or the departments or the products, whatever are involved in the issue. And I'll start to draw the relationship system between them. By the way, this is called a paper systemic constellation for those of you who are tracking the details. But this is just a really easy way to see what's going on and to get myself, and I hope yourself, pulled out of being hooked by the situation. And by hooked, I mean that you have gotten trapped by it. You're in it just like everyone else, and you can't offer a new perspective because you're down here, and someone, probably a lot of people, need you to be up here. So, paper constellation. You just write on a piece of paper all the different people, departments, products, whatever is involved. Usually there are not more than 7 main players in any given situation. And then draw lines between them showing the relationship system. So if the relationship between this department and this product, for example, is quite strong, you might draw that actually quite bold. If the relationship between this department head and this particular person, it has a lot of conflict, you might draw that as a thin line with some slashes on it. Whatever you devise for yourself, it doesn't matter. Just know your own nomenclature. So once you have drawn this out on a piece of paper, then what you can do is just step back from it a little bit and look at it and become curious about it as if it's the first time you're seeing it. Get curious about, why did I place this person so close to this event? Or why does this department seem to be shielded by this department in the way I drew it? So start to see more of the system of what's going on, and then ask yourself just a very simple question. If I were to help one of these relationships shift for the better of the whole system, which one would it be? Because here's the thing, you're not going to be able to solve any of these complex problems in your daily life with a one and done approach. Usually it's going to be several little things that you try. Each one of those will have an impact on the complex system you're working in, which is your daily environment. And so find the one thing you might want to shift a little bit to improve the whole system, and then try that and see what happens. And you might have to try several. So that is the basic way of starting to see the system instead of getting trapped in all the individual pieces. Now, this is a good place to start. And I would say get good at this for yourself. Start to use it, start to see and sense systems for yourself. But as soon as you can, and maybe a minute before you're actually feeling ready to, get other people to start doing it. If, let's say, you're working with a team and that they're having a particular issue, get them to do this too. Start getting them to sense their system, because they are just as trapped in the details and the he said, the she said, the personality complex, all the stuff that gets us trapped. They're just as trapped as everyone else. So if you can help them see the system, then they will come up with the creative ways to solve the challenges of the day.